Hi everybody, and thanks for tuning in to this week's yoga video. Today we're going to practice how to fall out of various arm balances. This is on request. Somebody had mentioned it, I think, on our forum, which is forum.yogabycandice.com. It's where a lot of people come together and just chat about all things related to yoga. There's a great little community over there. And anyway, somebody asked specifically for forearm stand, and I thought, let's do headstand, forearm stand, and handstand. So when you're ready, have a seat on the mat and let's get started. Okay, I just want to teach you how to fall out of various arm balance poses, because I think part of the problem that people have when they're coming into headstand, forearm stand, or handstand for the first time is they're dealing with a lot of fear. One of the fears is that they're going to break something or hurt themselves. I know for me personally, forearm stand was like so scary. For some reason, headstand, no problem. Handstand, I didn't really care about. But forearm stand, for some reason, I thought I was gonna break my neck. And the truth of the matter is, yes, you can definitely get hurt practicing these poses, but the body is stronger than you think it is, and oftentimes your fear is more dangerous, I suppose, than the actual pose itself. So I thought if we could just acknowledge what the fear is and then learn how to safely fall out of these poses, then it will make practicing the poses easier, more approachable, and something that we can all do. So let's get started with headstand. There are two different types of headstands. The first headstand I'm going to cover is supported headstand. So that's where you have your forearms on the ground. You begin by grabbing opposite biceps. You don't want to grab opposite forearms because then your elbows are too far away. So opposite biceps. Take the hands out in front, interlace the fingers, and place the head down onto the ground, and then begin to push into your arms already. And as you do this, you'll notice there's a round in my upper back. So we push and then curl the toes and lift the hips and then walk forward as far as you can. Then when you're ready, you're just gonna lift one leg and gently hop off the bottom leg. So we're not kicking, and that's the first thing, because if you kick, you're gonna send yourself all the way over. And it's gonna look like this. And it doesn't feel that great, especially if you're not warmed up. So I don't recommend it. We don't want to kick over and go with momentum. We want to lift up. So to do that, we need to push into the arms and use the core strength. But if we feel like we're going to fall, the best thing, I think, would be to try to come back down instead of flip over. So to come back down, the trick is to keep that bottom leg as close to the ground as you can. So if you think of it like a seesaw, where a seesaw is straight out, you have one person sitting here and one person sitting here, you want to find that sense of balance. So when you approach headstand for the first times until you're feeling comfortable, commit to having your legs in a V or like a seesaw, your legs spread. It's still a headstand. It may not be the headstand with the legs all the way up to the sky, but it's still a headstand. And once you find that sense of balance, you'll be able to slowly bring your legs up. So the trick to not falling out of supported headstand, keep that bottom leg as close to the mat as you can, as close to the ground. And I would say you could go to about here. So maybe in line with your hips. You don't want to go over your hips. As long as this leg is at your hip height or lower, you'll be able to safely just drop back down. And that's provided that you're just lifting up or hopping up off that bottom foot and not kicking over. Because if you kick over, you'll fall over, which is what we want to avoid for the most part. So that is how not to fall out of supported headstand. The next headstand we're going to cover is tripod headstand. So for tripod headstand, you're going to have, I like to draw an imaginary giant triangle on the mat, and then place the hands at the base of the triangle and the head at the very top of the triangle. So my elbows are going to be back behind me. One of the most common mistakes I see is that people keep their elbows out to the side. You want to do this like wax on, wax off thing where you're like sucking in. You want to have the arms to your side And just humor with me and do that with me right now. You're gonna go wax on, wax off, and you squeeze all throughout here. And that's where all your upper body strength is going to come from when you are in this position. So with the head down, the wax on, wax off turned on, you're just gonna walk your legs up, and you can bring your knees onto your arms and then press into your hands, and maybe you'll lift up, maybe you'll just be here. I think one of the things about falling is, again, it comes back to not moving with momentum. So not having one leg straight in the air and kicking over, you will for sure flip over that way. Instead, think about pushing into your arms and the wax on, wax off. That will really stabilize you and give you a strong foundation. So you have, again, the arms are turned on with the wax on, wax off. You can bring your knee on one arm and then the knee on the other arm. Or you can lift one leg and, like we did before, just a gentle hop off that bottom leg, but you're really pushing into your hands and into your head. And that will prevent you from falling because there's nowhere to really fall. You're not gonna flip over because you're not kicking over, and you're stable with that tripod, so you won't be wobbling side to side. The next pose that we're going to cover is forearm stand. So for forearm stand, you sit up the same way, just like just like supported headstand, the first one we did with the arms down and the head down. This time you're just gonna keep the hands out in front of you. Some people like to place their hands here. That doesn't feel great for my shoulders, so I personally like to do it like this, but however you like to do it is fine. Make sure that you're grabbing opposite biceps, so that way we know that our elbows are exactly where they should be. They're not too wide, not too close. Hands out in front in whichever way you choose, and then already begin to push into the ground. And as you do this, your upper back will round, and then you'll know that you have a solid, stable foundation. Now what I like to do is once I come up, I like to shimmy on either side of my arms so that I can remove that fleshy part of my forearm out from underneath me. That way my bone here is really firmly planted into the ground and I have a solid, stable foundation. From here, press and round, curl the toes, look down between your arms and walk as far forward as you can. Then lift one leg, spread the toes, and just a little hop off that bottom foot. Little hop, you're not kicking, little hop. Keep the legs in a V until you find your balance, and then you can bring your leg up. Now, the trick to not falling is, again, to be moving with moving with a lot of intention. So you're not kicking over like we talked about for supported headstand. You're doing a little hop off that bottom leg, and your other leg is reaching up to the sky. You're using your core strength to just lift up instead of kicking up. Because we never kick up, you kick over, which is what you don't want because you don't want to fall. Now, that's how to prevent falling over. If you do need to fall over, you'll just kick over and go into a very deep back bend, which is not recommended. You can also use the wall, but I don't recommend using the wall, and here's why. When we use the wall, we know that we have this thing behind us that can stop us. And while that might be nice for, like, I don't know, mental, reassurance or whatever, you know that no matter what you do, that wall will be there to stop you. So you can kick up, and you probably will kick up, especially if you're a beginner. So what I like to do instead is have someone behind me to help me press up. So what I will have them do is stand here. This would work better if I had someone in the office with me today to help show you, but they would just stand here, put their arm like this, and then I would put my bottom leg, the leg that I would jump off of, I'd put my bottom leg into their arm, and they wouldn't do anything. They'd just stand here while I press with my leg to lift myself up. That's how I would do it if you want to have a spotter. Otherwise, trust yourself and see what happens. I always suggest that you work on forearm stand after you have a very solid, supported headstand. If you can get in supported headstand, the one with your head on the ground and the forearms down as well, if you can get into that seamlessly and very slowly and mindfully, then you're probably ready to try forearm stand. So if you're going to fall out of forearm stand, then you know that maybe you're not approaching it in the best possible way. If you're falling over, that means that you're kicking over. And you shouldn't be falling to either side because you have a solid foundation with the forearms on the ground. The last pose I want to talk about is handstand, and I'd like to show you how I practice it. One of the common fears, I think, is that people are nervous to tip over, and we can avoid that if we enter the posture in a mindful, slow way, using core strength, using upper body strength, and not kicking over with momentum, because it's that momentum that sends you over the top. So let me demonstrate what I mean. If we're in this position, you want to have your shoulders over the wrist, hands plugged into the mat, and then I just kick up. I'm going to go right over top because I kicked up hard with momentum. The preferred way to practice it, if you don't feel like toppling over, is to lift one leg, shoulders over wrist, lift one leg, spread the toes. Use this bottom leg to just lift you up. And that's how you can just play with getting into it. The key, again, is not to let that top leg swing you over. Instead, you just want to have it lifted up, hold it there, and then hop off that bottom leg to just give you a little bit of height as you find your balance, as you bring your pelvis over your head to help find the balance. I'll demonstrate it once more. Instead of kicking up and over, like that, we want to lift the leg, shoulders over wrist, lift the leg, spread the toes, little hop off the bottom leg. And then when you're ready, just come down and rest. So the key to avoid falling from handstand is to hop off the bottom leg, keep that upper leg lifted, and avoid letting it drop down to swing you over top. If you do have to swing yourself over top, it's no problem. You just make sure, well, obviously you want to be practicing when you're completely warmed up, but if you need to fall as you come over, you're just going to go slowly into like a wheel pose and then bring your upper back down onto the ground and rest and hang out here until you have the energy to continue practicing. I hope that was helpful. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's yoga video. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe.